Torah Sheba'al Peh, in its essential form, is the Mishnah. What is the Mishnah? The Mishnah is a brief summary of all the discussions of the Hachamim in the Midrashei Halacha and other places, other Baraitoth, summed up in essentially telegraphic form, without much explanation, but giving you the conclusion, giving you the bottom line. That is what we find in the Mishnah. So what about the Mishneh Torah of the Rambam? When one studies the Mishneh Torah of Rambam, what is one studying? Because on the one hand, it is similar to the Mishnah. First of all, it quotes from the Mishnah copiously. Many lines in the Rambam are direct quotes from the Mishnah. Second of all, the material is given over in a similar style to the Mishnah, the essential information with little explanation, without little background. On the other hand, as we know, the Mishneh Torah includes all the conclusions of the Talmud Bavli, the Talmud Yerushalmi. All those discussions are also summarized in the Mishneh Torah. So what is one studying when one studies Mishneh Torah of Rambam? Does this count as Torah Sheba'al Peh or Mishnah, or does this count as studying Talmud? Baal Tosafot Yom Tov, in his Hakdama to his Perush on Hilchot HaRosh on Masechet Barachot, we have his Perush known as Ma'adnei Yom Tov and Divrei Hamudot of the Mahaber of the Tosfot Yom Tov on the Mishnah. He explains there why he chose the text of the Rosh as the basic text on which he would write his Chidushim and his remarks. And he says, because when studying the Talmud, you are studying essentially it's studying the Talmud with some further explanation and some additional information. The Rosh is an excellent summary of all of the above. That is to say, you're reading the Mishnah in the Rosh. If you just read the Rosh as it appears on the page, you have the Mishnah, you have the essential statements on that Mishnah from the Talmud and the essential discussions, very often quoted by the Rosh in the same language, the same words as the Rif, not always. And often he will mention that the Rif explains something in a certain way, but there's also perhaps another Perush. And he will also mention, of course, the Rosh will mention Rashi's explanation and discuss it, and the Tosafot. But this is all done in a very concise way, so that you hear the discussion, you hear more of the background than you would understand if you were just to read the Mishnah, shall we say, or even just read the Talmud, because you're hearing the Talmud with some further explanation and explication. So you hear Rashi, Tosafot, Rif, etc., and you also hear the conclusion of the Rosh. So you walk away with a very well-rounded and fairly complete, comprehensive understanding of what was said, what was discussed, and what the halacha should be. And therefore, the Baal Tosfot Yom Tov is of the opinion, and there were many other Chachamim of this opinion as well, and the Gra also expressed the view that studying the Hilchot HaRosh is a very important text to concentrate on. Tosfot Yom Tov thought that studying the Rosh was the ideal way to study halacha, and therefore he wrote a Perush or additional comments on the Rosh, on Barachot, on Hulin, and some other parts of the Rosh. In his Hakdama, he explains that if a person studies the Mishneh Torah of the Rambam, this is essentially the same as studying Mishnah or Torah She'Ba'al Peh in these statements and these halachot that we discussed here, because you are hearing a very brief rendition of the halacha in the Lashon Mishnah, the language of the Mishnah, without explanation generally, or very minimal explanation. And therefore it's similar to studying the Mishnah. So having a Seder Limud, setting aside a time every day to study some Mishneh Torah is like studying Mishnah. And I think this is a very insightful and very correct statement of the Tosfot Yom Tov. So it is possible, and it's also recommended to study Rambam's Mishneh Torah on a regular basis, and that can be considered part of that category known as Mishnah, because it is Torah She'Ba'al Peh given over in telegraphic form without any or very little explanation, background, svara, the thinking and the reasoning behind these statements. That does not really appear in the Mishneh Torah as a rule.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.